Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're trying to get our heads around something pretty profound. It's called Dzogchen.
That's right. Dzogchen, or Dzogchen, often translated as the great perfection or great completion.
And in some traditions, like the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism, it's seen as the absolute pinnacle, right? The highest teaching.
Exactly. They call it Ati Yoga, the utmost yoga. It's positioned right at the very top. And, well, our goal today is to give you a kind of map.
A map for something famously non-linear and maybe even confusing.
Yeah, that's the challenge. We want to provide a clear structure, focusing on its, let's say, core view and some really unique contemplative practices it involves.
Okay, so let's start right there with the name, Great Perfection. I mean, immediately you think, okay, this is the goal. This is Mount Everest, something you climb towards for years.
Right, you assume it's something you achieve, that you perfect yourself into it.
Through effort, discipline, becoming, better.
And that's the first big twist. Dzogchen flips that entirely. The core idea isn't achieving perfection. It's that perfection is already here. It's innate.
Already present.
In everyone. In every sentient being, yes. It's described as a primordial state, spontaneously accomplished. The Tibetan term is lungrub, already perfect.
Wow. Okay, so the path isn't building something. It's taking things apart.
Yeah.
Recognizing what was there all along.
Precisely. It's a path of deconstruction, of seeing through illusions to recognize what has always been the case. Not construction or attainment. That's the fundamental aha moment, as you put it earlier.
That really shifts the perspective.
Yeah.
So where do we begin this recognition process?
Well, the absolute foundation is understanding the difference between two ways consciousness operates. This distinction frames everything. Sem and Rigpa.
Right. Sem and Rigpa, let's break that down. Most of us, when we think mind, we're talking about Sem, I assume.
Almost certainly, yes. Sem is what we usually call mind. It's the thinking, planning, judging, analyzing mind. The one that experiences hope and fear.
The busy mind. The one that gets us through the day, but also maybe causes problems.
That's it. It's the engine driving samsara, the cycle of suffering. Crucially, Sem always works in a dualistic way. There's always a me looking at another, a subject perceiving an object.
And it's kind of inherently flawed or limited.
It's described as being stained by a fundamental, subtle ignorance, or Rigpa. It automatically mistakes concepts and appearances for solid, independent reality it grasps.
Okay, so that's Sem, the ordinary, conceptual, dualistic mind. What about Rigpa then? Is it the opposite?
It's fundamentally different. Rigpa is pristine awareness, pure knowing. It's the direct, non-dual, non-conceptual recognition of reality itself, of the very ground of being.
Non-dual, meaning no subject-object split.
Exactly. It's inherently awake, unchanging, primordially pure. The whole point of Dzogchen practice is to first get a taste of this Rigpa, recognize it, and then stabilize that recognition.
So here's the key thing for me. If Sem is the problem maker and Rigpa is this pure awareness, is Rigpa something separate, something we have to import or cultivate to fix Sem?
No, not at all. That would just be another idea created by Sem, another duality. The teachings are very clear. Rigpa is always present.
Always. Even when we're totally lost in thought and stress.
Even then, it's just unrecognized. There's a classic analogy. Rigpa pervades, like sesame oil pervades the sesame seed. It's inherent.
So thoughts, emotions, all the stuff that Sem generates.
Yeah.
They aren't the enemy.
No. From the perspective of Rigpa, thoughts and emotions are seen simply as its natural expression, its energy, its play. The Tibetan is rolpa. They arise from Rigpa and dissolve back into it.
So the problem isn't the thoughts, it's that we identify with them. We think that's who we are.
Exactly right. Suffering, in this view, boils down to a cognitive error, a case of mistaken identity. We mistake the fleeting activities of Sem for our true nature instead of recognizing the vast aware space of Rigpa in which they occur.
That's huge. Okay, so this view, this understanding, how is it mapped out? You mentioned a framework.
Yes, the traditional framework is the base, path, and fruition. Or in Tibetan, Geji, Lam, Dribu, it covers the whole territory.
Let's start with the base, Geji. What is this ground of existence?
The base is the fundamental reality, the primordial ground from which everything arises and to which everything returns. It's described as already perfect and unchanging.
Okay, and does it have qualities?
Yeah.
Or is it just emptiness?
It has qualities, but they are inseparable from its essence. They're often called the three wisdoms of the base, and the sky analogy is really helpful here.
Right, the sky. So what's the first wisdom?
The first is its essence, Nungobo. This is primordial purity, Kadag. Think of the vast, open, immaculate sky, completely empty of any inherent limitations or characteristics, pure potential.
Empty, but not just nothingness.
Exactly. Which brings us to the second quality. It's nature, Rangavijin. This is spontaneous presence, Lingrub. It's the inherent luminosity, the clarity, the capacity of the base to manifest anything and everything.
Like the sun shining in that empty sky.
Precisely. The empty sky isn't dead or dark. It's filled with this radiant light, this potential for appearance.
Okay, essence is empty sky, nature is luminous sun. What's the third?
The third is compassionate energy, Trekchö. This is the unimpeded responsiveness of the base, its inherent intelligence and ability to connect and interact. It's like the sun's rays, they shine everywhere, impartially without any concept or effort.
Essence, nature, compassionate energy, purity, presence, responsiveness, all inseparable aspects of the base.
Inseparable,
Yeah.
like wetness is inseparable from water.
This loops back to what you said earlier about non-linearity. If the base, the gizi, already has this perfect nature.
Then the fruition, grabu, the result or goal, must be identical to it.
So the path, Lamb, isn't about going somewhere else.
Not at all. It's about removing the obscurations, clarifying our vision so we can see directly what has always been true, see where we already are.
Which explains why they talk about non-striving. If you strive to get somewhere, you already are.
You reinforce the illusion that you're not already there. It's a subtle but crucial point. Striving implies lack, implies distance.
A very sophisticated kind of trap. Okay, fascinating. Before we get into the path practices, maybe a quick word on where these teachings originated. There are different accounts, right? Nyingma and Bön.
Yes, two main traditional narratives. The Nyingma school traces Dzogchen back to the primordial Buddha, Samantabhadra, then through celestial beings to the first human master, Garab Dorje, supposedly in Oceania, maybe the Swat Valley. And then it was brought to Tibet mainly by the great master Padmasambhava in the 8th century. This anchors it firmly within Indian Buddhist lineages.
And the Bön tradition.
The Bonpas claim a much older origin, predating Buddhism's arrival in Tibet. They trace it back to their founder, Tunpash and Rab Miborcha, who they say lived thousands of years ago in a land called Pazig or Olmo Lungring, probably somewhere in Central Asia. They assert a non-Indian source.
So different origin stories, but pointing to the same core wisdom.
Seems so. And for the Nyingma tradition, Padmasambhava's role was absolutely pivotal, not just for Dzogchen, but for establishing Buddhism in Tibet generally.
He's the one associated with hiding teachings, right? The terma.
Exactly. He, along with his consort Yeshet Tsogyal, concealed countless texts and sacred objects as terma, or treasure teachings, meant to be rediscovered centuries later by specific predestined individuals called purtins. Much of the Dzogchen textual tradition comes through this terma lineage. It kept the teachings fresh and relevant.
And later on, someone organized all this.
Yes, the great 14th century master Longchenpa. He was a towering figure. He synthesized the various streams of Dzogchen, especially the Vyema Nyingthig and Khandro Nyingthig lineages, and gave them this incredibly rigorous philosophical and scholastic foundation. He made the view intellectually robust as well as experientially profound.
Okay, so we have the base, the primordial ground. Now, the path, Lamb. How do you actually practice recognizing this base, especially within the advanced teachings, the pith instructions or Mengagde?
Right. The Mengagde emphasizes two core complementary practices, Trekchö and Tögal.
Trekchö and Tögal. How do they work? How do you practice something that's supposed to be effortless recognition?
Well, they relate directly back to those two main qualities of the base. Trekchö means cutting through rigidity or cutting through solidity. Its focus is realizing the primordial purity aspect, the kadag, the empty sky.
Cutting through, so it involves effort.
It involves the effort to stop making effort, you could say. The method is often described as technique-free. It's about resting in the natural state, allowing awareness to just be as it is.
Just resting. How does that cut through anything?
It often begins with a period of quite sharp analytical investigation. You look directly at thoughts. Where do they come from? Where do they stay? Where do they go? You probe their nature to gain certainty that they have no solid, independent existence. They're empty.
Okay, so you use analysis to see their emptiness first.
Yes, to gain conviction. Then the practice is to let thoughts and emotions arise and dissolve naturally without grasping onto them, without judging them, without following them. They liberate themselves the moment they arise.
Like a bird flying through the sky, leaving no trace. That's an image I've heard.
That's a classic one. Or like writing on water. Instant appearance, instant dissolution, no interference. That's the core of Trekchö, realizing the empty essence.
Okay, and then there's Tögal, the direct crossing or Leapover. This sounds more intense.
It is. If Trekchö is about realizing the empty sky, Kadag, Tögal is about directly engaging with the luminous sun, the spontaneous presence, Lungrup.
How do you engage with luminosity?
This is where it gets very specific and, frankly, quite esoteric. Tögal involves psychophysical techniques. It uses particular body postures and, crucially, specific gazes looking into the clear sky or into total darkness or at the sun under specific conditions.
Gazing. To what end?
The aim is to create conditions for the innate luminosity, the radiant light of Rigpa, which is said to reside in the heart, to travel up subtle channels to the eyes and manifest externally in the practitioner's field of vision.
Externally, you mean to actually see things?
Lights. Yes. This is where the famous Dzogchen visions come in. It starts with seeing small dots or spheres of light called Thegals, then rays, chains of light, intricate networks.
Wow.
And these progressively organize themselves through what are called the four visions, eventually forming complex mandalas, images of deities, pure lands, incredibly vivid, luminous displays filling the visual field.
That sounds potentially overwhelming, or maybe blissful. What's the point of seeing all that?
The absolute crucial point, the whole purpose, is for the practitioner to recognize without any doubt that all these externalized lights and forms are not separate from them. They are nothing other than the natural radiance of their own pristine awareness, their own Rigpa.
So you see your own mind's light projected externally, and you have to know it's you.
Precisely. It forces a direct confrontation with non-duality at the level of perception itself. It cuts the root of believing in an internal self and an external world right there in the seeing.
Songtashika. But that sounds like it could also be dangerous.
Very much so. And this brings us to an absolutely critical point. Trekchö is the non-negotiable prerequisite for Tögal.
Why? What happens if you jump into Tögal too soon?
If you haven't stabilized the realization of emptiness, Kadag, through Trekchö, if you haven't understood that all phenomena, including your own mind, lack inherent existence, then when these incredibly powerful, vivid, luminous visions arise in Tögal,
You'll think they're real, like actual external things, gods appearing.
exactly, you'll reify them. You'll grasp onto them as external realities, perhaps fall into states of fascination or even fear. It can lead to serious mental imbalance or reinforce subtle dualistic clinging instead of dissolving it. You need the wisdom of emptiness from Trekchö to see the visions for what they are, just the play of your own awareness.
So Trekchö is the ground, Tögal's the enhancement, but only on that stable ground.
Perfect summary. Trekchö provides the wisdom, Tögal provides the extremely potent, skillful means to deepen and integrate that wisdom.
Okay, stepping back a bit, how does Dzogchen compare to the more maybe mainstream Buddhist paths like Sutrayana?
The contrast is often drawn between them as causal versus resultant paths.
Causal meaning.
Sutrayana is seen as the causal vehicle. You focus on creating the causes for future enlightenment. You accumulate merit, purify negative karma, practice ethical discipline, develop concentration and wisdom over potentially countless lifetimes.
And emotions in that path are generally seen as problems.
Yes, the kleshas, the afflictive emotions like anger, desire, ignorance, are viewed as poisons to be abandoned, counteracted, or transformed through specific antidotes. It's a gradual path of purification and transformation.
And Dzogchen as the resultant vehicle.
It starts from the fact that Buddhahood, or Rigpa, is already present. The path isn't about creating Buddhahood, but recognizing the Buddhahood that's already here.
Which is why they say liberation in one lifetime is possible.
That's the claim, yes, because the ground is already perfect, and the approach to emotions is radically different, instead of seeing them as poisons to get rid of.
You see them as the play of Rigpa.
Exactly. The method is called self-liberation. An emotion arises, you recognize its empty nature, that it's just energy, just awareness itself manifesting. And in that recognition, it dissolves naturally without leaving a trace. No suppression, no transformation, just liberation on the spot.
That sounds incredibly advanced. But does this mean someone can just jump into Dzogchen without any preparation if the result is already here?
No, that's a common misunderstanding. Despite the suddenness of the view, virtually all authentic Dzogchen lineages stress the absolute necessity of the preliminary practices, the Ngondro.
The same preliminaries found in other Tibetan Buddhist schools,
Yeah.
like contemplating impermanence, karma, suffering, taking refuge, bodhicitta, purification.
Yes, precisely those. These gradual Sutrayana-based practices are considered indispensable. They prepare the mind, they tame the wildness of sem, reduce ego clinging, and develop devotion and compassion. Without that foundation, the radical view of Dzogchen won't take root, or worse, it could be seriously misunderstood.
So the gradual path supports the sudden path.
You need the foundation to handle the profundity of the view. Because this view is subtle, it's often described as being on a razor's edge, very easy to fall off into misunderstanding.
What are the main pitfalls, the main ways people get it wrong?
There are two classic ones. The first is falling into nihilism.
How so?
If you overemphasize the emptiness aspect, the primordial purity, the Trekchö, you might conclude that reality is just a blank nothingness, a dead void, that nothing matters.
But Dzogchen isn't nihilistic.
Absolutely not. Because emptiness, Trekchö, is inseparable from luminous appearance, spontaneous presence, grub. The ground isn't a void, it's the pregnant emptiness from which all vibrant reality ceaselessly arises. It's dynamic potentiality.
Okay, so it's not nihilism. What's the other pitfall?
Passivity or quietism. Because the path emphasizes effortlessness and non-doing, someone might mistake this for just spacing out, becoming dull, inactive, or mentally foggy.
Like a kind of spiritual laziness.
Exactly. But genuine Rigpa is the opposite of dullness. It's described as intensely vivid, clear, present, and dynamically aware. The effortlessness is the result of great initial diligence, the effort needed to stop habitual effort, to stop grasping. It's a state of vibrant rest, not a stupor. A dull, spaced-out state is actually considered a subtle obstacle, maybe mistaking a subconscious state like the alaya vijnana for true Rigpa.
Vigilance seems key then, even in effortlessness.
Constant, relaxed vigilance. And crucially, none of this navigating the pitfalls, understanding the view, engaging the practices can really happen just from reading books or listening to discussions like this one.
Right, you need a teacher.
Absolutely essential in Dzogchen. More than just a teacher, a qualified guru. Because authentic entry into the practice relies on something called the pointing out instruction, the Ringosprad.
What is that exactly?
It's a direct introduction to the nature of your own mind, given by a master who has realized Rigpa themselves. It's not just explaining it, it's a direct transmission, mind to mind. It's meant to trigger an initial experiential glimpse of Rigpa in the student. Without that direct introduction, the rest is just intellectual speculation.
So intellectual understanding is helpful, maybe necessary, but totally insufficient.
Insufficient for genuine realization, yes. The transmission from the guru is considered the spark.
Okay, so wrapping this up, Dzogchen presents itself as this incredibly direct, maybe even radical path. It collapses the distance between where we are and where we want to be by saying fundamentally they're the same place.
Exactly. It's a path of recognizing the mind's inherent primordial perfection, using these very sophisticated methods that are both rigorous and ultimately about non-striving.
The great completion. Realized right here, right now.
That's the promise.
And there's one final aspect, a final fruition, that is perhaps the most startling and maybe provocative part of the entire teaching, the physical outcome.
Ah, yes. You're talking about the rainbow body.
Jalous.
The rainbow body, what is it?
It's considered the highest attainment, the ultimate sign of full Dzogchen realization. The texts claim that when some highly realized practitioners die, their physical body doesn't decay in the normal way.
What happens instead?
Over a period of days, the coarse physical elements, flesh, blood, bone, are said to dissolve back into their essential luminous energy, the light essence of the elements.
Dissolve what's left.
Often it's said only the hair and nails remain as impurities. Sometimes, apparently, nothing at all is left behind, just rainbows and light phenomena. It signifies a complete mastery over the phenomenal world, the full integration of the view, meditation, and conduct, demonstrated at the level of the physical body itself.
It's hard to comprehend. It really pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible.
It certainly does. And it leaves you with this profound question, doesn't it? If the ultimate spiritual realization can culminate not just in a changed mind, but in the apparent dissolution of the physical body back into light, what does that really say about the nature of this physical reality we take to be so solid and real every single moment?
Indeed. What does it imply about the very fabric of existence? That's perhaps the ultimate question Dzogchen leaves us contemplating.